Hello. So when you're sewing, what do you do with little scraps of fabric like this, especially when they are pretty little bits of true vintage fabrics or gorgeous fabrics such as Liberty Tana lawns? Well, I collect mine in a little scrap bag, and when I have enough, I sew them into patchwork, both in the form of quilts and dresses. And I'm wearing, you might remember me making this 1940s hooded dress, and this was made from quite large patches of fabrics that were left over from my mum's ragdoll making. I've been sewing together hundreds of tiny wee scraps of fabric, which are all original vintage fabrics, either from the 30s, 40s or 50s, or from Liberty of London. Obviously, I would make sure that they were ones that went together for the next project, which might be a while in the making. Little scraps you can see, and the idea is there's no little scrap that is completely unusable, because you can make a length of patchwork fabric that you can use for, see, even that. If I show you that little scrap there, I think it's the waste in my household, that scrap there, that would be enough to make a little bit of another patchwork blouse or skirt. When you finish cutting out a dress, those little teeny scraps that you think that you might not have any use for, that was a little scraps from my 1940s very loose trousers that I made summer or two ago. No scrap needs to be unused. That's the little scrap from my Doris Day inspired dress. And I've got little plain scraps. And I, of course, have kept, you can see my daffodil sleeve, kept every little scrap from my daffodil fabric, because nothing will go to waste. Silks and velvets have their own bag for a silken and velvet crazy patchwork that is on its way. When I say on its way, again, it might be a while. That was my Audrey Hepburn 50s blouse, a little scrap of that very pale pink, and a little scrap from my walkaway dress, a little scrap from my 1940s iron out flat dress. I must have done something that doesn't look like my colour at all. Shocking pink. I'd look terrible in that. I mean, I love it. Yeah. That's why I haven't worn it. Can't even think when I used that. It's Liberty Tana lawn. Anyway, that will look better somewhere away from my face, shall we say. You see, even that, I obviously thought, oh, that might be useful. It's very, very, very tiny. Anyway, you get the idea. These are all Liberty Tana lawns. That 1, 2. Those are all Liberty Tana lawns, and they're brown, which doesn't quite go. And then I've got, for example, this. I made the walkaway dress from this fabric, which is vintage Laura Ashley from the 70s cotton. That was little bits left over from the walkaway dress. So those, for example, would look really pretty together. Seeing possibilities. I've got, this was left over from the 1940s crop top that I made quite a while ago, and that was left over from my 1930s beach pyjamas. Both of those are Liberty Tana lawns. That would go prettily. That's a true vintage. I think that was 1970s, that's 1940s that I made my 40s iron out flat dress from. Yes, you see what I mean. I sewed them to form one big rectangle for the skirt, and then a long strip to form a ruffle for the skirt. So unlike this dress where the patchwork was sewn and then the pattern pieces were then cut out of the patchwork, for my skirt I used every bit of the patchwork, a rectangle just gathered up onto a waistband, which I cut from Liberty Tana lawn. I just wanted to show you a close-up of some of the different patches that went into the making of the skirt, and you can see that all the strips are different sizes. It's just depending on how much fabric was left over. And of course, all these vintage Liberty fabrics have so many memories of both recent dresses and dresses from childhood, because Liberty of London has been part of my life always. My mum made me Liberty print dresses, and as soon as I was able to sew, I was given a sewing machine for my 18th birthday. I asked for a dress allowance when I was 16, which makes me wonder, did I even know my father? The chances of him. My uncle gave my cousin a dress allowance, and I thought, oh, that sounds good. I'll ask my father. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, so I asked him for a dress allowance when I was 16, and he suggested I might start a holiday job. I would save up my money for my holiday jobs and then head to Liberty's for the sales in January and July. By the time I was 18, only 2 years to wait, he did buy me a sewing machine for my birthday. So all these Liberty fabrics, I have been sewing with Liberty fabrics for, well, wouldn't like to say how long. You can see there's some really pretty ones. Move over. All kinds of fabrics that you might remember too from Liberty. And then the skirt top, I've left space for a zip, so I'm just going to gather that up, and then it's got this tier that I've gathered up and sewn to the skirt around the hem. And then for the hem, this isn't a stiff grosgrain, it's just a very fine floppy grosgrain that I've stitched on, and then I'm going to hem it round. And if we look at the wrong side of the skirts, you'll need to trim off little threads, but you can see that all I've done is pink around the seams, and nothing's frayed because Liberty cottons are such good quality, aren't they? And then turn it round again. So for the waistband, you can just see here I've got a little bits of this fabric. I'm just going to cut a waistband out of that Liberty fabric to tone in. I've left space for a zip, and I've got this little, I mean, I knew it won't show, but I just thought it was a sweet little zip to use for this skirt. Obviously, this didn't take a week. It took a little longer. It's a wonderful project to do just when you have bits of time here and there. I work from home and I have little spaces between meetings, and that's often not enough to get out sewing things, cut out what definitely isn't enough, cut out pattern pieces, etc. But a little project like this can be easily fitted in, like 5 or 10 minutes here or there, and then it gradually grows, kind of like I did my little happy bag. That was another project that I did in little bits when I had time. If you do have a hand crank sewing machine, I would really recommend a project like this. You don't have to mess around plugging it in. When you have time, just join little pieces of the patchwork. The lovely thing about doing a patchwork skirt from all the dresses and blouses and whatever you've made is that all these memories of dresses, and it becomes a really nostalgic and happy garment. It was actually a very simple skirt to sew, although collecting the little patches and sewing together, because I didn't do it in one go, I didn't really notice how much time it took. And I hope that you'll agree that this is such a wonderful project for using up all those precious little scraps. I can never bear to throw them away. I can sometimes use them for projects like my pincushion dolls, or for little dolls you can use those little scraps. But the wonderful thing about sewing patchwork, especially what you'll see with this skirt, is that the patches that I used were not even. They were literally just little kind of rectangular strips that are just all sewn together, so some are wider, some are narrower, some are shorter, some are longer, but they all fit together. And the actual construction of the skirt obviously couldn't have been simpler. The hemming took quite a while. There was quite a lot of patchwork, in fact. So I'm going to actually cut the reveal now. It's going to be a very short and sweet video. Short and sweet like Pixie. Because it was a very simple construction. So I hope that you enjoy the reveal, and you might be interested, those of you who are knitters might also be interested in the cardigan shown in the reveal. So I'll tell you just a teeny bit about that at the end. So I know the eagle-eyed knitters amongst you will have spotted this little jumper, which is knitted from a 1930s pattern. And those of you who know I'm a beginner knitter will already be suspecting not by myself, by my mother. 1930s knitting pattern, which I bought especially for her because I wouldn't want her to get bored. I'm selfless like that. I supply her with a constant stream of really interesting knitting projects. I'm training her up as a videographer. Completely selfless. That's what I am. I actually also wanted to show you this outfit out in my garden, but guess what? It's raining. If you saw my Star in a Circle video, you'll know I think I said, oh, it's been raining for 4 months, and then I doubted myself and took it back. But actually, officially in the UK, it has been raining every day since October, and it's raining now. I might just run out, scurry out and get a little damp and just show you. I wanted to show you a little bit of a close-up. It's sounding awfully wet. Anyway, I'll brave it. So I hope that you enjoyed seeing my patchwork skirt and a little reminder of my patchwork dress, and also this little 30s jumper. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Please remember to like the video, if you did like it, of course. That all really helps. Thank you. Bye.